Jurassic Park dinosaurs are often seen as the baddest of the bad, with few dinosaurs outside of the franchise capable of matching them in raw power and ferocity. But there's one dinosaur who doesn't have any magical power-ups or insane size advantage that could be a match for the most powerful carnivores in the Jurassic franchise. And that's of course Speckles. I'm pretty sure most of you know who Speckles is since I've covered him so many times on the channel, so I'm not gonna go through his entire life story. You can watch one of these videos for that. This one was actually a suggestion made by someone 2 weeks ago, and it was interesting, so I finally decided to just do a video on it. I'm going to be showcasing all of Speckles' biggest feats in both movies and seeing how he would fare against these mega theropods. But just before we do that, if you like these types of videos, go on and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future upload. There's also a Discord link down below for you guys to join if you're interested. I think that's enough for intros, so let's get right into it. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to be doing is discussing the strength, durability, speed, endurance, and overall intelligence of Speckles. And man, when I tell you this dinosaur has some insane feats, I mean it. Speckles is a Tarbosaurus from the movie Dinosaur King and had to survive on his own after his family was killed by a hellspawn T-Rex. From youth all the way to adulthood, Speckles has shown feats that would match some of the characters from Dino King, the anime. Oh, you don't believe me? Fine, let's get into it. First up is raw power. He has this in spades and gets more buffed as he ages. In his countless fights with One Eye, which is a T-Rex that weighs more than 9 tons, he has been able to overpower the animal. One Eye himself is the most strategic dinosaur villain ever shown on television, by the way. Some of the things he has planned rivals the decisions of Scar from The Lion King. Speckles was able to grab One Eye by the neck and throw him so hard that he tumbles more than 80 feet away. Even when One Eye just full on charges at Speckles, he sends the T-Rex on the floor with just a single nudge. When his mate Blue Eyes perished, he had to fight off hundreds of Velociraptors to keep his offspring safe. These aren't the paleo-accurate Velociraptors either, by the way. These guys are big. Not as big as the one from Jurassic Park though, about the size of an average Deinonychus. No matter how many raptors kept on coming, Speckles was able to plow through them until the animals finally gave up. All of this happens in the first movie. In the second movie is where Speckles truly shines. The guy fights literal kaijus in this film. In Journey to Fire Mountain, Speckles was able to defeat more than 5 brontoscorpions on his own. The scorpions in question are his size or bigger, at least 9 tons in weight. Yet Speckles sent one of them flying into a cave wall at the height of a 2-story building just by slapping the arthropod with his tail. Even as he's running, he can just grab one and throw it out of the way casually. Hell, Speckles can take out 2 brontoscorpions at the same time. He picked up one by the stinger and flung it into the other scorpion so hard that it rendered them immobile. The scorpion's exoskeleton doesn't save them either. Despite their armor now being as strong as mild steel or thick keratin, like those of a tortoiseshell, Speckles rips off the claws of one of them and completely tears another apart. His fellow theropods aren't safe either. He fights off a pack of Carnotaurs and at the end 1v1s the Alpha, which is again his size. The dude just ragdolls the poor thing in the air and then slams it onto the floor. By the way, none of these actions should even be biologically possible. Like Speckles' vertebrae should shatter under the weight of lifting items this heavy in his jaws and shaking them so aggressively. It's like you grabbing something that weighs as much as you in your mouth and then throwing it more than 60 feet or lifting it over your head. These unnatural bursts of power don't stop at normal animals though. Not that an almost 10-ton scorpion or 8-ton carno is normal. What I mean is that he fights kaijus the size of Godzilla -1. During the finale of the movie, Speckles is able to latch on to this weird iguana monster thing, and no matter how much it tried to get Speckles off, it couldn't. The kaiju had to do a literal thunder stomp to get him off. This fits pretty well into the next 2 categories, which are endurance and durability. After that monster does its stomp, Speckles hits the ground so hard that he bounces off of it as though it was a trampoline. Then mid-air he is hit by the full force of the kaiju's hand into a cave wall, where he then falls from almost 100 feet. During all of this, Speckles should have been a pile of blood and organs on the floor. Do you know how hard you have to hit another living thing for it to bounce off the floor like that? Not to mention he took the force of like a train hitting him directly in the body, then came to a full stop on stone and finally fell to the floor. Speckles ignores all of this though and is able to keep on fighting without a limp or any visible damage. Yup, despite all of that, his endurance allowed him to keep fighting until everyone he cared about was safe. Most other animals his size don't seem to really do that much damage to him. He casually shook off the bite from the carno and was only affected by the scorpion because of its venom, not the initial puncture. And during all of these fights he was able to come out on top despite being outnumbered. The only thing I've seen somewhat damage Speckles was One Eye during their first real fight, which makes sense. I mean, a T-Rex biting on your neck for more than 50 seconds would weaken anyone. The damage doesn't stay though, because the moment he escapes the Rex's jaws, he's completely back to his old self. Hell, a rock the size of a small house falling from hundreds of feet into his ribs isn't enough to kill him or slow him down. Since he manages to swim out of the lake he was knocked into and then climb up back the cliff to face One Eye. Speaking of swimming, after Speckles had traveled for more than 100 miles after fighting off the raptors without food or water, he still is able to brawl with One Eye even in the ocean. And then he carried his child for miles until he came onto the shore. Now that's some crazy dedication. When it comes to speed, he can keep up with the Velociraptors and run faster than the monster Kaiju, so I'd say around 30 miles per hour. As for intelligence, he's pretty up there. He's able to form quick decisions in the heat of battle. This was what led to the Kaiju's defeat. As Speckles and the others were trapped in the cave, he antagonized the monster who was burning in lava, leading it towards the wall of the cave to attack him. He jumped out of the way at the last minute, which forced an opening in the cave so everyone could escape. He's also able to sympathize with other species and form bonds with them, so he isn't just a mindless war machine. That's pretty much the stats of Speckles. He truly is a monster. I mean, watching your family die twice and seeing your greatest enemy almost sexually assault your partner would make anyone that strong. But how does this compare to the bioengineered crashouts of the Jurassic franchise? Well, I'll come straight out and say it. Wu's creations stand little chance. The weakest of the big hitters, being Jurassic World's own Tarbosaurus, would be easily brought down by Speckles. She's smaller and has terrible durability. Rexy bit down on her neck for like 2 seconds and she was out of commission, so Speckles wouldn't have much of an issue with her. I mean, if he can send scorpions bigger than him airborne with just a tail slap, then she wouldn't stand much of a chance. So then what about the Queen of Nublar? Rexy has a few good feats of her own. She's about the same size as Speckles and is fairly durable. She can take bites from the Indominus Rex over and over and get her head stomped on by Zeb, who weighs more than 10 tons, and still gets up moments later to fight. But that's about where the compliments come to an end. In her youth, when she was about 7 tons, or a bit more, in Jurassic Park, she could keep up with a Jeep, but now that she's more than 9 tons, a fit person can outrun her. While Speckles is still able to maintain his outrageous speed. He outclasses her in everything else too, including durability and raw power. I mean, if he can do this to a Carnotaurus similar in size, then he could possibly do the same to her. And if she bites him on the neck, he could shake her off fairly easily. And don't any of you dare say she outclasses him in bite force, because he was able to hang on to that Kaiju's leg suspended in the air until the animal finally got serious and decided to stomp him off. And that's even if she can land a hit on him, considering just how agile Speckles is. Lastly, we have the big three of the franchise, the Indominus, Giganotosaurus and Spinosaurus. The last two outclass Speckles when it comes to size, and the Indominus has more weaponry. But could they damage him? Not likely. The Spinosaurus couldn't even snap his neck, because Speckles will escape the grasp and then just maul 87. If he can escape One Eye, then he can escape the Spinosaurus. As for the Giganotosaurus, well, Zeb's biggest asset is his raw power, which was why he was able to defeat a T-Rex so easily, or at least his ancestor did. This is one thing he won't be able to exploit, because Speckles can throw around scorpions close to his size over and over without showing any signs of a struggle. The Indominus could possibly get a jump on Speckles if she used her camouflage and ambushed him. Hell, she could possibly even hold on to him for a few seconds and start scratching him, but then the boss music will start playing and Speckles will grab one of her arms and bring her to the floor, where she'll then get the Carno treatment or simply stomped out. I'm sorry guys, but there's just no way any of the theropods in the Jurassic franchise can beat Speckles. You gotta remember, this guy can fight multiple scorpions their size at once and even fight Kaiju. How would they even damage him? The theropods don't have nearly as much power as the monsters in Speckles' movie, and Speckles was able to survive the attacks of that thing and just walk it off. If any of them were to face Speckles, realistically, a health bar would appear and Berserk's theme song would start to play, as Speckles remembers the death of both of his families and his wife almost being raped by another theropod. Don't worry Jurassic World fans, he still isn't the strongest despite this. This franchise has a Kaiju of its own, which is of course the Mosasaurus. If Speckles is swimming in the open and she grabs him, it's pretty much over. I mean, if he's grabbed by the tail, he could swing around and possibly start to tear into her, but in the end she should be able to just drown him. So yeah, there's no terrestrial predator in this franchise that stands a chance. That doesn't mean a fight will happen though. The only dinosaurs I think Speckles would have to fight regardless of if he wants it or not is the Spinosaurus and the Indominus Rex. The Spinosaurus can't be reasoned with and is very aggressive, while the Indominus is too prideful and thinks she could beat anything due to her being in solitary confinement most of her life and a lack of exposure. Remember, Speckles isn't just a rampaging war machine looking for blood. He is smart enough to communicate with other dinosaurs even if there's a language barrier somehow. Speckles is very prideful though. As a matter of fact, it's the very reason his son got kidnapped in the first place. But he isn't unreasonable. He would try to form a truce with Rexy before anything else. I mean, Rexy would probably still just start a fight and get bodied, but if she decides to accept his presence or at least tolerate it on Nublar, then there shouldn't be any conflict. And Zeb is honestly just a chill guy. Once he has food, he doesn't really start shit. During the end of Dominion, Rexy was the aggressor. In Biosyn Valley, the two could fight over food, but I don't think it would be a death match. Zeb acts more like an actual animal than the rest of the dinosaurs, so after Speckles establishes himself as the strongest theropod, similarly to how Zeb did to Rexy, then there shouldn't be any issues moving forward. Regardless of if it's Nublar or Sorna, Speckles will do just fine. There isn't any herbivore he can't take down, and the spread out populations of raptors won't pose much of a threat to him. The only thing Speckles would have to worry about, to be very honest, is loneliness. Hell, he might try to get an acquaintance out of some of the other dinosaurs. But most of the dinosaurs in the Jurassic franchise aren't as smart as the ones in Dinosaur King, except for the carnivores. Once Speckles stays out of the ocean or any large body of water, he should be just fine. The tropical weather and terrain won't be an issue either. Speckles has lived in different conditions throughout the span of his life, from lush forest all the way to rocky outcrops. And since he isn't a killing machine and understands only taking what he needs to survive, the herbivores on the island should be alright population wise, even if a kaiju fighting theropod is among them. I know that even with all the evidence I show here, there still are going to be people saying Speckles gets beaten by everything. And to be honest, I don't have the energy to fight that. Die-hard Jurassic fans are almost as bad as Dragon Ball fans in some cases. Not saying all of you are, because I myself am sort of a fanboy of the franchise. As a matter of fact, I ordered one of those Indominus Rex models a while back. But at some point you gotta sit back and analyze the truth. If you do have your thoughts as to why Speckles couldn't survive in the Jurassic franchise, then leave it in the comments, it should be interesting. Hell, there might have been something I could have missed out. But that's pretty much it folks, don't forget to like and subscribe, I'll see you in the next video.